Okay, so it turns out when somebody calls me, that shuts off the video, so I'm back. I believe where I left off was telling you guys that you can plug this into Y1, that into Y2, and check your Y values to see if they match, okay? So I have that right here. I have my original in Y1, my answer in Y2, and then I'm gonna go second table, and my Y values all match up perfectly, so that's how I know these are equivalent, which means it's my right answer. Okay. And question 31, this is from the statistics unit. Okay, so we haven't gotten there. That was unit, I don't even know anymore, 11. We haven't taught you guys this yet, but still something you can answer just based on the understanding you have of math and life in general. So this is a scatter plot, and it shows the relationship between the number of members of a family and the amount of the family's weekly grocery bill. Okay, so if you have more members, it seems like the grocery bill is higher. That should make sense to everybody. The most appropriate prediction of the grocery bill for a family that consists of 6 members. So what you would want to make sure you did is look on your x-axis. Okay, here's where the members are. Here's the amount. If there's 6 of you, where would that dot go? Well, probably somewhere around here, right? That would be like the middle of the trend. If I'm looking at the trend of this data, it seems like it's going up like that. So if I'm making predictions, I want to go based off the trend. That's where I would put it, and that's about 300. Okay? I can't really tell you there's a strategy for that one. This one's just kind of like use your knowledge of graphs. Okay? The strategy for 30, I don't think we put that one. This is the Y1, Y2 matching strategy. All right, so those are your multiple choice for today. Now we're going to graph inequalities. I actually am going to skip one of these. I'm only going to do one of the 13 or 14. And which one looks more difficult? Well, I'll give you guys a little bit of an easy one. Let's do 14. Okay, so we'll do 14, and I'm going to do 15 with you as well. So 14 says, on the set of axes below, graph this inequality. Okay, with inequalities, there's a couple of things we need to remember. If it's a greater than or less than symbol, you have to do a dotted line. That's the most common forgotten thing with inequalities. Okay, the line has to be dotted. If it's greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, it can be a solid line. Okay, and then you have to remember to shade. Okay, if it's greater than or equal to, shade above the line. And if it's less than or equal to, you shade below. Okay, and I'll show you how, if you're not sure where to shade, if it's not clear what's above or below the line, then I'll show you how to pick a test point. So before we graph this, we have to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract over 2x. And my equation is going to be y is greater than negative 2x plus 1. You can pop that into your y equals and graph it that way, or knowing what you know about linear equations, you can use slope and y-intercept. So my y-intercept's 1, so I plot my point at 1, and my slope is negative 2, so it's down to right 1. So I'm going down to right 1, and just make sure it's creating that negative slope when you do that, down to right 1, and then you can also go up and to the left to continue and finish off that line. Now I'm going to do something bad and not use a ruler, but with dotted lines, it's kind of, you can get away with it. Okay, make sure your line's dotted with arrows. And this is a greater than, so it is clear to me that above the line would be here, so I'm just going to shade above. But if you were ever unsure, pick a test point. The easiest point to pick is 0, 0, okay, the origin. If the origin is supposed to be shaded, if I was supposed to shade this way, including my origin, then when I plug 0, 0 into my equation, what I get as an answer should make sense or should work or should be true. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm plugging in 0 for y and 0 for x. And when I solve all that, is 0, that's just 0. Is 0 greater than 1? No, it's not. Which means my origin should not be shaded. I shade in the other direction, okay? Which is what I did. So that's what a test point means. So just label your line. I'm gonna label with the original. It's greater than 1, and that's it. Now, I wanna go over one more thing with you guys, now that I have you here, my captive audience. You can't leave. If I was to ask you what a solution of this problem was, you could not pick anything on the line because it's dotted. Okay, you'd have to pick something in the shaded region. So any point on the shaded region, like let's say I pick the point 2, 2, that's a solution. Any point inside here is a solution. If this was a test, they love asking you if a point on the graph is a solution. So they love asking like, is the point 0, 1 part of my solution? It's not, okay? And the reason is because it's on that dotted line and it's not included in your solution. If I plug the point 0, 1 in, so I'd plug 0 in for x, 1 in for y, you would get, is 1 greater than -2 times 0 plus 1? Is 1 greater than 1? No, it's not. It's equal to 1. So since it's not greater than 1, it's not part of my solution. Okay? All right. And finally, question 15. This is a two-part question. It says, Sean incorrectly graphed this inequality right here shown below. Explain Sean's mistake. All right, well, we don't know his mistake until we graph it ourselves. So let's graph it ourselves and then we'll explain his mistake. So I'm going to rewrite this equation. -x minus 2y is greater than or equal to 8. Let's go ahead and solve this. So I'm going to add x over. -2y is greater than or equal to x plus 8. And then you have to divide by this -2. Now, if we were in school, I would ask you guys to tell me what goes on when you divide by a negative across an inequality. And I would hope that every single person's hand would be up, rearing to answer my question. And what you would be telling me is that when you divide by a negative across an inequality, the inequality flips. Okay, so instead of a greater than, now it's a less than or equal to symbol, okay? And then be careful with this. A lot of mistakes happen here. That's a 1 in front of the x. 1 divided by -2 is a fraction. It's -1/2 x. And then 8 divided by -2 is -4. I just did that right on the hole punch, so I'm a little lopsided here, okay? So that's my equation. It appears to be what he graphed, but let's graph it ourselves and figure out what he did wrong. You guys can probably already figure it out. But my y-intercept's -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plot that guy. My slope is -1/2, so I'm going to go down and to the right. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Up to the left. Up to the left. Up to the left. Up to the left. Okay, and then you can go ahead and do your... Oh, this is a solid line. Just kidding. Solid line. If you have a ruler at home, that would be ideal. Okay, that was a pretty straight line. All right, and then it's a less than or equal to, so we're going to shade below the line. So now you can probably clearly see what his mistake was. We didn't see any of the math he did. We didn't see any of the math he did to get this equation. All we know is that we can assume that he probably didn't flip the inequality. So if you want to explain his mistake, you can explain it just by saying he shaded it in the wrong direction. So he shaded, I'm going to just say he shaded incorrectly. You could assume that he probably didn't flip it, but we don't want to make any kind of assumptions, so we're just going to say what we see. And then, of course, you want to label -x minus 2y is greater than or equal to 8. All right, guys, I hope you're doing great, and I'll look forward to hearing from some of you. If you ever have any questions, please shoot me a mail. All right, have a great day, night, whatever time it is you're watching this. Goodbye.